Hey folks, another month is gone. It's already the 7th of October. This is a pretty late monthly update, but there you go. Look back at September, some stuff about green and red jerseys. Maybe that clash is not going to be on the cards going forward. Samoa is not touring. A potential shift or update on the old Club World Cup, which always seems to be kind of talked about but never happens. A new Super Rugby comp. And yeah, some stats and things. But anyway, it's a monthly update. I hope you guys are all doing well. And yeah, it's been another kind of big month in terms of the rugby stuff. The Rugby Championship's now done and dusted. New Zealand win the competition, so congratulations to the All Blacks. Australia go 4 on the bounce. The Springboks come back from a bit of a losing run to retain #1 spot in the world. The only one who doesn't kind of have anything to really cheer about at the moment is the Pumas. I'm hoping their games in kind of November can give them something to cheer about, because the last couple of months have kind of not been all that pleasant. We've still got USA Uruguay on, we've still got Canada and Chile. So yeah, there's heaps happening around the rugby world at the mo, and upcoming in the months ahead. So kind of happy days for us rugby fans. Quick thanks to all the patrons who support the channel on Patreon. As always, if you are willing and able, there's a link down in the description to Patreon if you want to sign up to support the channel. Always means a lot. These people help out every month. So, yeah, what can I say? Much appreciated. It keeps the channel going. Special thanks to John, Ian, Michael, and Billy. Your guys' support is pretty exceptional. What can I say? So, yeah, all you folks, thank you so kindly. But also you guys for subscribing to the channel. If you're not subscribed, please do that. There's always like 60% not subscribed. That seems to be a pretty standard number. Like the videos, that helps out with YouTube's algorithm stuff, comment and whatnot. And yeah, kind of happy days. Thank you guys for all the support. I should say in the month of September, which seems like an age ago now, interestingly, the viewership is South Africa 1, New Zealand 2, Australia 3, UK 4, USA 5. I think Argentina was in the top 10 as well. I guess that makes sense with the Rugby Championship being on. Ireland down a little bit. Ireland seems to come up during the Six Nations, and down a bit at the moment. Although the URC is on now at the moment, which has got the Irish teams in as well. So been doing some videos on that, interestingly too. So it's kind of been cool competition to follow. It's only 2 rounds in so far. Interestingly, the #1 viewed video in September, it was Wales, not Wales, Wallabies. I've wrote WAL in my notes. Wallabies, South Africa. That everything around that first game they played, the round 3 game. I guess because it was an upset, kind of Australia, even though they were at home, were kind of seen as underdogs. Any games which are an upset, people are more interested in. Yeah. I mean, it's hard to say it was an upset now when you look back at it, but at the time, remember the Aussies had just come off really bad results against the All Blacks, and South Africa had just won the Lions series, beaten Argentina 2-0. So seemingly it was going to be a pretty tough one for the Aussies, but they ended up doing all right, didn't they? And I guess it was a nail-biting finish, so that kind of always helps. But yeah. Also, when I was looking at the stats, 52% of people watch on a mobile. Interesting. I'm wondering how many people listen. Because sometimes when I'm watching YouTube, I just put my phone somewhere, like when I'm doing the dishes, I just put the phone there and just kind of listen to it. I don't actually watch necessarily. How many of you just listen? Anyway, what else have we got going on? As I said, thank you for the supporters of the channel. That's always means a lot, and I can't say anything more than a heartfelt thank you to everybody. Stuff that's going on. Samoa is not touring, which is pretty devastating news because Samoa already doesn't get a lot of games, right? Samoa, it just seemed to get kind of the short end of the stick in terms of the fixtures list. But this time of year is always a good time when that countries which aren't necessarily getting kind of Six Nations or Rugby Championship games, especially with the pandemic, these games have been even harder to come by. Yeah, this is the time they're actually going to be played. But no, Samoa has pulled out. They were due to play Georgia, Uruguay, Spain, and then the Barbars. But now they're not going to tour. Essentially, I think there's really hefty COVID restrictions with Samoa. I think they're pretty much COVID-free. Correct me if I'm wrong, but with that, their restrictions are really, really quite intense. So they've basically cited health and safety reasons. So Samoa is out, which is pretty devastating, like I said, because They've only got a limited number of games to go. I know 2023 seems like a long time away, but actually when you look at the number of tests teams have got between now and the World Cup, it's not that many. So to lose like 4 games, even if one of them's not a test against the Barbars, still it's a pretty crushing blow for Samoa. Good news is Tonga is still apparently going to go ahead. They're not going to take the coach Toto Kefu after he kind of had a home invasion incident a while back, but he's recovering. And they're mostly going to pick players who are already based in Europe anyway. But yeah, at least they're going to play Scotland, England, a French Barbar side, and Romania. So yeah, sucks for Samoa. What else can I say? A Club Rugby World Cup, man, this one comes up all the time. It's still kind of rumoured. Rumours pop up about this kind of every 6 months or so. Somebody talks about it, somebody in a high up place in some important job. We're talking about games like the Crusaders against Leinster or Saracens against... Pretty much the Crusaders is always the team that gets quoted, right? Basically, the Super Rugby teams facing off against the best of Europe, and now the South African teams who are in Europe as well. So fans seem to want it, and there seems to be an acknowledgement of that by the powers that be. The one that's been recently rumoured is that once every 4 years it would kind of become part of the Champions Cup, which already sees the best of France, the old Pro 14 and the Premiership get together. You would add like the top 8 teams from Super Rugby to match off against like the quarterfinalists from the Champions Cup once every 4 years. That's the current rumour. So, I mean, like I said, I would love to see it, whether it's a one-off game against like the Champions Cup champion against Super Rugby champion, whether it's multiple teams. I don't know how you organise it. The logistics is always the problem. The time of year is always the problem because you've either got one lot who've just started their pre-season against the team who've just finished their season, or kind of vice versa. So it's a tough one to organise, but hopefully people smarter than me can get something across the line, because I would certainly be interested in watching. I don't know, just to give us a kind of feeling for just how good are these teams, or is there kind of an imbalance, or is it pretty much kind of even stuff? It will be fascinating to watch. Super Rugby Aupiki, if you haven't heard of this one, this is a new competition which is going to get underway here in New Zealand in 2022. And it's actually a women's competition. It's going to be 4 teams rather than 5. And the players are actually going to get paid, which in itself is kind of a minor miracle. We did see some women's Super Rugby games this year in New Zealand, but it was just kind of exhibition games, no money. So the fact that it's only going to be semi-professional, but players are going to be getting paid to play rugby is always a great step forward in terms of getting the quality of game higher. People can not have to worry so much about their day job and like put more resources into their own, their sports career. I've talked about it like with the MLR in America, right? Having guys, even if they're not getting paid mega bucks, if they're getting paid professionally to play rugby, guys or girls, you're definitely going to get better at that, right? If you're doing something 5 days a week, getting paid for it, rather than just kind of, a couple of days a week on evenings and weekends, you're going to get much better at it much faster. So, I reckon that's fantastic news. I don't know how much they're going to get paid. Again, I don't reckon it's going to be huge money, but the fact that there is some money involved is a great step forward. Women's rugby is like, I don't watch enough of it, but it's usually pretty bonkers, crazy, quick-paced. Like, for all the talk in recent times about the men's game sometimes being a bit less easy on the eye, I'm no expert on women's rugby by any means, but it's generally pretty entertaining. The one thing about women's rugby is there seems to be some teams who are really strong, at least internationally, and some teams who are really quite weak, but that's the kind of thing that will kind of even out as more women play professionally. But anyway, good bit of news, happy days. And the last one, no more green versus red. What am I talking about here? World Rugby is saying by 2027, I think they mentioned at the World Cup, they're not going to have any games between teams wearing a green jersey and teams wearing a red jersey. So like Canada and Ireland. If they played, one of these teams would have to wear an alternate strip. Why? Because of color vision deficiency. So I think I'm not sure if it's too broad a term or if it's no longer a correct term or what, but color blindness is what it was called when I was growing up. Please correct me if that's too broad a stroke or if that's inappropriate language nowadays. I don't know, but I'm assuming it's people who struggle to differentiate the colours, right? They reckon it's about 8% of males and about 0.5% of females have issues with those kind of two colours clashing. So, yeah, they're going to make... There wouldn't be like a Wales against Ireland kind of clash at the World Cup, wearing green against red. I'm imagining it's mostly going to affect Ireland, because there's loads of teams who wear red, at least off the top of my head. I'm thinking Canada, Tonga, Wales. More teams that wear red than wear green. I mean, Ireland are the only ones with that kind of green. Does it affect South Africa's green as well, which is a much darker green? I don't know. Someone with more information will have to kind of let us know how that works. But yeah, essentially they don't want to negatively affect 8% of the viewing audience, which could be millions of people, if they're struggling to watch a match between two teams who pretty much look the same or hard to differentiate between. So yeah, that's that one kind of came out of the blue, but I see the logic behind it for sure. So yeah, it'll be an interesting one to see what they kind of do in terms of their away kits. There's been some pretty shocking ones out there, but yeah, anyway, should be a pretty good month coming up, folks. October is more kind of getting ready for November, to be honest, in terms of the international scene. But yeah, there's still plenty going on. The Premiership's on, the top 14's on in France, the URC is well underway. And there is some internationals coming towards the end of the month as well. Plus, as I mentioned, World Cup Knockout America's games this very weekend. So happy days, folks. Like I mentioned, thank you again to all the people for supporting on Patreon, for subscribing, for viewing, for liking, for commenting, all that kind of stuff. Helps out immensely. Hope you guys are all well. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you guys again for another one sometime soon. Take care. Bye-bye.